In the vast expanse of the universe, where billions of galaxies shine like luminous beacons in the darkness of night, one profound and unanswered question remains. Are we the only intelligent beings in this boundless ocean? The most scientific hypotheses and the latest astronomical discoveries bring us closer to the belief that the existence of intelligent life scattered throughout the cosmos is not only possible, but almost inevitable. In this video, we're going to explore 3 true and astonishing stories about extraterrestrial encounters. On a cold autumn night, in September 1961, a quiet and respectable couple named Betty and Barney Hill were returning home to New Hampshire from their vacation across the Canadian border. They never imagined that what seemed like an ordinary night would become one of the strangest and most controversial nights in human history. Betty, a social worker, was an intelligent, meticulous, and well-read woman. Barney, a postal worker and a World War II veteran, was a logical, serious man with completely normal mental health. A couple trusted by their community. That night, around 10:30 p.m., Betty noticed a strange, bright light in the sky. At first, she thought it was a star or a satellite. But the light behaved differently. Instead of moving in a straight line, it spun, stopped, suddenly accelerated, and then came closer. Barney, who was driving, pulled the car over. He took Betty's binoculars and stared at the object. What he saw was not what he expected. I saw a spacecraft. It had windows, and there were beings behind the windows. 7 or 8 of them. They were looking at me. Suddenly, one of the beings, according to Barney, it seemed like a commander, appeared to communicate with him telepathically. Barney panicked, ran toward the car, and shouted, "They're coming down. Quick, Betty, let's get out of here." They began driving away at high speed, but suddenly they heard a strange sound, a mechanical buzzing. Then, everything went black. When they came to, they realized that 2 hours had mysteriously vanished. Neither of them could remember what had happened during that time. When they got home, strange signs began to emerge. Barney's shoes were dusty, as if he had walked miles through the forest. Betty's dress was torn. Both of their wristwatches had stopped and never worked again. Shiny, circular spots appeared on the trunk of their car. When tested with a compass, the needle spun wildly. In the following weeks, Betty began to have recurring and vivid nightmares. In her dreams, she saw gray beings with large eyes stopping them, forcibly taking them out of the car and into a spacecraft. Their bodies being examined by the aliens, samples of skin, nails, bodily fluids taken. One of the beings was polite and calm and communicated with Betty, mentally, not with words. Betty and Barney decided to seek treatment for their anxiety from a well-known psychiatrist, Dr. Benjamin Simon. He chose to hypnotize both of them separately under deep hypnosis. The result? Their stories matched perfectly. Barney described how he was laid on a table, and a strange device was placed over his eyes. A sperm sample was taken from him. Betty said they pierced her abdomen, apparently to take an ovary sample. Devices were placed on her body, and the beings continuously communicated with her telepathically. In one of the sessions, Betty said one of the beings showed her a map of where they came from. She later drew this map in detail. Years later, a physics teacher named Marjorie Fish realized that Betty's map matched a real star system near Earth, Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system about 39 light-years away. The interesting part is that at the time of the incident, human knowledge of this star system was very limited. The U.S. Air Force initially said they would investigate the matter, but later dismissed it as unimportant. Nevertheless, Betty and Barney's case was added to the secret Project Blue Book. The media initially treated the story with skepticism and ridicule, but over time, as the couple's psychological health was verified, opinions began to shift. Their story inspired hundreds of films, documentaries, TV series, books, and even songs. Many later abduction accounts followed the pattern set by Betty and Barney. September 16, 1994, around 10 a.m. A private school in a rural area near the town of Ruwa, in Zimbabwe, Southern Africa. 62 students were out in the schoolyard for a mid-morning break. The teachers were inside the building, attending a meeting. The sky was clear, not a single cloud. And then, something happened. Something that, even nearly 30 years later, no one has been able to fully explain. The children claimed they suddenly saw a silver-colored object in the sky. An oval-shaped craft, flying silently, slowly descending in a strange manner. Witnesses said it was going up and down. Then it sort of glided and disappeared behind the trees. The unidentified object landed in a bushy area with tall grass, about 100 meters away from the schoolyard. The children said that one or two beings exited the craft. Reported features: short stature, around 120 to 140 centimeters. Very large, bald heads. Completely black, oversized eyes. Tight-fitting black suits. No speech, but a strong mental presence. One child said, "He didn't talk to me, but I heard him in my head." Several children independently reported that the beings communicated with them telepathically and conveyed messages. Messages such as warnings about harm to the environment, overuse of technology by humans, threats that could destroy human civilization. Even more remarkable, the children expressed these ideas using vocabulary far beyond their age level. When the children returned to the school building, they were distressed, crying, and terrified. At first, the teachers didn't believe them. But when 62 students of different ages told nearly identical stories, the incident was taken seriously. The school's headmistress, Cynthia Hind, asked the children to draw what they had seen. The result: all the drawings were strikingly similar: a round craft, beings with black eyes, and a landing site near the schoolyard. A few weeks later, Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner, traveled to Zimbabwe to investigate the case. He interviewed dozens of children individually, observing their behavior, memory, tone, and body language. In his report, he wrote, "I found no signs of deception, exaggeration, or fantasy. What these children experienced was, from a psychological perspective, real. There are no photos or videos from that day. However, some reports mentioned circular ground marks and vegetation disturbances at the landing site. Still, no independent scientific investigation was ever conducted to confirm or disprove these claims." Why is this case important? 1. 62 simultaneous eyewitnesses with matching accounts. 2. A remote area with little to no access to sci-fi media or Western influence. 3. Involvement of one of the world's top psychiatrists. November 17, 1986. Flight JL-1628 of Japan Airlines, en route from Paris to Tokyo, with a stopover in Alaska. A cargo Boeing 747, loaded with a shipment of wine. 5:11 p.m. Altitude, 35,000 feet. Northeast Alaska, near the city of Fairbanks. And this is where it all began. Captain Kenju Tarachi, a senior pilot with over 29 years of flying experience, suddenly noticed two intense lights in the night sky. At first, he thought the lights belonged to U.S. military aircraft. But the lights were too close, moving at an unusual horizontal speed, staying alongside the plane, and then circling around it. Tarachi reported to air traffic control, "Two flying objects with strong lights have appeared near us. They are moving very fast." According to the captain, the two luminous objects suddenly moved forward and upward, getting extremely close to the aircraft, so close that the flight crew could feel their radiant heat. The captain said, "I even brightened the control panel to see better, but these objects were faster than us. They had an orange and amber glow." Then, the lights vanished. But it wasn't over yet. A few minutes later, a massive, disc-shaped object appeared in the distance, behind the plane. This third object, according to the captain, was so large that it could have covered the entire 747 fuselage. At first, the radar controllers in Alaska saw nothing, but after a more detailed check, they detected a trace of an unknown object near flight JL-1628. The captain requested a change of course. Air traffic control agreed, and the plane was turned 350 degrees. Yet the unidentified object kept following them. After landing, the captain and crew immediately prepared a detailed report. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, got involved. The U.S. Air Force also took interest in the case. The FAA report confirmed the aircraft was at the correct location and altitude at the time. No military or civilian aircraft were registered in that area. A brief radar trace was detected but matched no known flight. The flight crew were professionals with no history of hallucinations or psychological issues. In a later TV interview, Kenju Tarachi said, "I'm sure what I saw was not man-made. It had no wings, no sound, and no understandable flight method." However, after the incident, Japan Airlines reassigned Tarachi to a desk job and revoked his flying privileges, perhaps to avoid media controversy. He later said, "I told the truth, but I was punished for that honesty." The case eventually faded from the media, but in the UFO research community, this incident remains one of the most important recorded encounters with unidentified flying objects. In the end, no one truly knows what accompanied the Japanese 747 that night over Alaska. But one thing is clear: if a pilot with thousands of flight hours sees something unknown in the open sky and takes it seriously, maybe it's time we take it seriously too. If there really are beings watching us, what's their goal? Salvation? Control? Or just observation? If you ever came face to face with an alien, what's the first question you'd ask them? Why do you think most of these cases disappear from the media after a while? Coincidence or by design? If these stories got you thinking, just know this is only the beginning. Hit that like button if you want more content like this. And don't forget to subscribe. We reveal hidden truths every week.